Okay, so we're jumping into the Q&A session.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got super interesting questions here.
Yep.
Rebecca, we will definitely, or we will come back to all of them. Rebecca, sustainability, I guess we all have an idea that this will not be forgotten. We will come back to this in a moment.
Velis question?
Yes, Velis Eleftherio.
Was the normal of December 2019 a good example to look forward to? If we see airports closing runways after 2021 for rehabilitation work while they did nothing during the pandemic, is there any hope for IT innovation? Anyone?
Yeah, I will take this one. Thank you, Velis, for the question. That's a good one. And I can give a few personal insights on that because I was involved in a project being airside at 2 major airports this summer. And it's true that it is an opportunity to do stuff that we cannot do normally. And there have been a few people and a few organizations grasping that opportunity. For example, I've seen a lot of airports or ATC organizations doing things like flight calibration. So, the tests, flying an aircraft to check that the signals guiding airplane are still what they are supposed to be. Normally, it's something we do at night because we don't want to waste capacity over the day. And now during the pandemic, because the traffic was so low, some ATC organizations started doing that during the day. That's really a quick win, and that's easy to do. Now, your example is a bit of the other direction. Resurfacing a runway or doing rehabilitation work is not something that you can organize in a snap. I mean, you need to find a company able to do that in a relatively short time frame. And there are two things here. First, especially at the beginning of the crisis, it was really hard to know how long it would last for. My personal guess in March, you can laugh on that, was that it would be 6 weeks of mask for everybody and then it was done. I'm not good at predictions, as you can see. So it would be really hard to say, okay, we now close a runway for, let's say, 60 days for resurfacing without knowing when the crisis would end. And the other thing is the reaction of many airports and other big organizations was to do furlough or reduced working time, which are models in which you send your staff members home and the state takes over for part of the cost. Which means you cannot bring them back as soon as you want. It's really something that is also regulated and lasts for a while. And I was once looking during that summer for a big space to hold a meeting with 30 plus people at a big airport with a closed terminal. And my first reaction was, okay, easy, we have a closed terminal, we can get the waiting hall here, we can get check-in or whatever. But the point is, a closed terminal in that case means they shut down power. They switched off water, so there was no way we could have running lavatories or even light within the terminal. So these organizations, when they start to reduce their working time or everything, it's not something you can just restart. And not like, open the terminal for me for 2 hours, please, I have a need for space. So these are still large organizations. Even if our project was, let's say, medium size, we could not have priority and use whatever resources we wanted. So we got some hurdles just because the organization was slowing down, like less people at the checking point for security, some services being closed. And this was the first reaction. And because the time was unknown, it was not giving us more flexibility or more capacity. So I would not blame any airport for not doing something during that slot of opportunity. Now it's true that IT is much more like a place where you can seize the opportunity. And as Jan Willem said, there is an opportunity now to prepare the future and get more flexibility and get more innovation done. But it's still hard to manage because of that uncertainty.
Perfect.
Great
Thanks.
point, Vincent. Just one brief thing. Natalie, about the innovation, as Vincent just touched it. So what innovation could be crucial for survival of aviation companies? What do you think? Just brief question.
Sure. I think anything that will offer small gains, small wins on every single action. I hosted a webinar a couple of weeks ago covering different roles in aviation, from unions to pilots to management and safety, and anything that can save $20, right? Like, we're at a crucial point where a CFO is signing off on very small amounts of money. And so even saving $100, €100, £100, every single time that a flight happens will be crucial to the survival of all of these companies, and being smarter about how they interact with every touch point along the way, so that they can save, they know that they're doing everything that they can to survive, and also that they're helping the organizations that they've also invested in, like the terminals, like and all the shared software that they have.
Cool, thanks.
And I think that's something, yeah, I think that's something that could start immediately, though. I realize that there has been some skepticism about what sort of innovation has actually been going on, but in my experience, there have been people that are staples throughout an organization, and they tend to, they're not always available, but they tend to pop up, and they are carrying that torch for 2021 and getting ready for the future, because they know that their organization is going to survive, and it'll survive with really smart number crunching, with using data and becoming smarter and sharper and beating out everyone on every single action. And so I think there is a lot of skepticism, and this is definitely a dark year for a lot of us, especially in sales. But I think it's the mother of innovation. And if we look at the pandemic historically, what the Renaissance was preceded by a plague, right? And we're going to come out of this better, with better portraits.
Thanks, Natalie. Jan Willing. There is a question for Andreas, right? Could you please?
Yes, and looking at the time for the panelists, can you please, in order to get as many questions answered as possible, let's have a quick round of answers. I'd like to start with Jan Bruns' question. So, in my opinion, the integration of test results, vaccinations, or similar data in the operational process would be one of the key success factors in the reboot. With a hopefully increasing traffic, this integration should be seamless as possible and should come quickly as possible. Does someone have a solution for this issue?
Yes, and I will try to make it very quick. Actually, airports are currently really looking into that process, and therefore that question is very valid. And yes, there are solutions out there, but I think it's not that question if there are solutions to digitalize that process of testing, vaccination, and the verification actually at an airport. It is more about also how that process will look like in the future, when I am able as a passenger actually to somehow upload my results or my health status, actually, because that's what will be asked in the future, or am I still able to do that on site at the airport? And in the end, this will be a decision also by the regulator. So governmental bodies, they will take over that decision, how things have to run, and then airports must be able to integrate actually those processes rather than looking for solutions. I think they would need integration partners at this end to be able that a passenger is always able to verify the results that he got as part of his journey. Just to give it a quick one.
Thank you so much, Andreas.
All right. Then there's another one, and I guess Vincent, you wanted to also say something to this, but I would like to give a little bit of a feedback to Jasenka Rapajic, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. From a technology perspective, the focus is on optimizing individual functioning of airports, airlines, and ATC. What is missing is collaboration at top industry levels. To make investments, CEOs and shareholders must understand the pain points from wider perspective. Some kind of visual mapping can be beneficial to initiate actions that benefits all, and in the end, the passengers. How do you see the role of technology in providing such insights? Jasenka, I think that's really a core question. And knowing your background, I also thank you for this question. In my opinion, technology will be a driver that needs to be thought on a wider or on a bigger picture indeed. To make it very brief, on our side, we had discussions with authorities and with institutions such as Eurocontrol, where we say in order to really make our technology, for example, at Asaya, beneficial to the industry, the more airports we cover, the better data we can deliver for Eurocontrol, for example, to manage the air transport, the air traffic flow. So that means that if we could have something on a higher level where Eurocontrol, or in the US, the relevant authority says we need these kind of technologies, not only ours, but all the different technologies on a larger level, that will actually, as you already mentioned to some extent, that will really drive value and drive innovation. But Vincent, you also wanted to quickly say something there.
Yeah, thank you, Jasenka, for the question, because it's a really interesting one. I don't think there is so much of a lack of understanding, but the reason is there is still a massive difference of business models between ATC and airports. Remember that airports are basically paid per passenger they process through the terminal, plus the parking fees and so on, while ATC is paid per flight. And even today, I've seen a notification from Avinor saying they had something like 80% less passengers and 60% less flights. And this makes a big difference. When you look at initiatives like airports, collaborative decision-making, ACDM, we had airlines, airports, and ATC working much closer together, so it's possible. But I think as long as the business models will be so different, it will create different interests, and it's not a way that will support collaboration. But I really think executive levels of all organizations know the pain point of the others already quite well.
All right.
There is a question from Chinab. Is there any chance of innovation in Indian aviation industry? Andreas, would you like to answer this question briefly?
No, definitely not. No, just kidding. For sure, I think every country or every airport has the drive to make things better. Yeah? I think this is the motivator for all of us to innovate is that we want to continuously improve. And what I've seen actually from the Indian aviation industry is that there are some examples like Bangalore Airport that already started years ago with data as a brick, initiatives to look at data and collaboration, and already started that drive forwards to, let's say, innovate and make their airports more digitalized. I'm pretty sure the Indian market has their challenges as well as the German and other countries as well. So and we need to continuously work actually on those. And I think right now we have a chance to do some of these significant changes.
Thank you so much, Andreas. So we're approaching the end of our virtual panel discussion. Here you can see the contacts of our panelists. Please reach out if you have any questions. So to wrap it up, we'd like to briefly provide a personal outlook for 1 to 5 years from each of our panelists for the future of aviation, how it will be rebooted, what are the implications. So please, let's keep it short to 2-3 sentences.
And sorry, just yep. as a quick thing before. So we have all your questions for the ones that we were unfortunately not able to answer. Mm-hmm. We will definitely reach out to you and answer them because they were also so good. So we don't want to waste any of them. So thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you so much, Jan Willem. There is also a final poll running. So please answer 3 questions. It's pretty short about the quality of the virtual panel discussion. And please, let's start with Andreas on the personal outlook.
So first of all, I still have let's say hope for next year. Looking into the short term, that's we've run through let's say the really deep bounds of that crisis and can look forward now to some extent to a recovery. I think as a let's say general topic, and we've mentioned before a bit that sustainability issue will still play a significant part. I think minds have not changed here, even due to the pandemic. So airports and passengers actually will request that to have a more sustainable aviation industry in the future. And the other thing is that I believe personally that we will have to diversify more. suppliers, airports, airlines, okay, might be in a bit tricky situation here, but looking into different transportation modes, airports looking into how they can make their business more resilient or less dependent from passenger volumes. I think there will be a lot of movements around that kind of diversification.
Thank you so much, Andres. Thank you for your input. Rico, what about you? What's your outlook?
Yeah, keeping it very short. I think I've seen several crises over my career in aviation, starting with 9/11. And I think aviation has always bounced back heavier than before. And I think we will come out of this stronger. And with collaboration, we're going to make that happen and really get back to on track and be much stronger than the whole industry was before. Thanks a lot for joining, everybody.
Thank you so much, Rico. Lee, what about you? What's your outlook?
Yeah, really positive. I think those companies that adopt different ways of working will come out of all of this stronger than they entered it. I think the general consensus is we're 2 or 3 years away from getting back to the traffic numbers that we had in 2019. So we've got an opportunity there to use that. And thanks for joining, and thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Lee. Natalie, please.
Sure. So I think I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the improvements in the industry for sustainability. I think for a long time this has been weighing on companies, and we finally have some of the focus and also the regulation and pushing to start to develop that into something that isn't just far off in 2050, but that we might actually be able to reap the rewards of in 5 to 10 years. And that's the kind of discussion that I've been hearing, and the sort of writing that I produced for companies about how to explore that. I'm personally very positive about 2021. I think we're going to see that there will be more focus on some things that people were pushing off 3 or 4 years, and that we'll be able to execute them now. I think overall, though, some of the questions that were brought up, especially about bringing all of these different technologies together across both systems, will become ultimately a saving grace. And that I'm really looking forward to working with Reboot Aviation to describe and also to facilitate some of those connections. And hopefully we'll be able to see those things even faster.
Yes,
thanks for coming
absolutely.
today. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for your contribution. Jan-Willem, what's your outlook?
Yeah, I think making it very quickly, coming back to also the question from Rebecca, sustainability will continue to play a role also in the recovery. It's not off the table. And also 2020 for me was definitely a difficult year for the aviation industry, but it also was the foundation. Daniel, yes, we haven't seen any proper investment probably on a wider scale, but I think it was a turning point for the next 5 to 10 years to come. And I'm also looking to the next year, to the next 2 years, very positive, especially knowing that we are now having vaccines. Thanks everyone for joining. It was really a pleasure, and I hope we shared something that is valuable.
Thank you so much, Jan-Willem. Vincent?
Yep. 2021, we certainly have a lot of hard work in front of us to do. It will be the year of the recovery. Now that we have vaccines, probably the uncertainty will get lower, and we can start better planning the next steps. But I'm very positive that in, let's say, 2 to 5 years from now, aviation will be stronger as before, a bit different, and definitely rebooted. So thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for attending, for your participation, for your questions. We will get back to the questions that we didn't answer live via email. Happy holidays. It was a pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much, everyone.